This is hopefully going to be a very short video. I'm not absolutely sure about that because I don't seem to be successful in this. It's a video. If you look at this file, there's a file called bubble label template, and this file will be in the website in this thing called dynamic graphs. Okay, I'll put it there. I don't think I've put it there yet. All right, the internet is very slow where I am right now in Ghana. Okay, and I just put it on the wrong thing. Now, what this thing is, it's very much like it's very much like the starting the thing again. It's very much like the generic macros. And the reason I just started it is I wanted to, on the bottom, put Shift Control L. This is just a status bar thing. And the idea is you open any chart, so you need to be on the graph, and you also, you need to name the bubble titles. Okay, I've done this a couple of times and I've mentioned how it works, but this one's just one that you can use. Now, I'm going to kind of go backwards with this. If we want to make a bubble chart, this is, let's say this is the x-axis and this is the y-axis. We need to have no label, no writing, nothing on the x-axis. You just shade this, select this, rather than shade is a bad word for saying that. You press F11 to make a graph, you change the graph, you select the chart, you make a bubble chart if you'd like, and then you can press, now, I have two data ranges here. Control F3 shows the data range. I have one called labels and one called X range. The one called labels is horizontal, I guess. Can they call it horizontal? And the one called X range is vertical. Okay? You need to name the labels. Now, once you've named the labels, oh no, why did I lose it? Oh, shoot. You then go to the chart, and then, one minute. So we have our named ranges, and then we just press Shift Control L. Now this right now, and it says you must label the range. It should just say, well, that's bad. If you do not, don't go on. And then we say, okay, we'll put labels 1. That's one of our named ranges. Here. I put it in the wrong place. Shoot. Okay, and then it names the ranges, and I guess you can, how'd you just, I want to name them all. Just a minute. Okay. All right. And we can then, of course, just increase the size of the names and all that. And now, if you want to make the bubble chart, you press Select Data, you go to Edit, and you just pick select Data, go to Edit, pick your bubble size, okay, and press OK. And press OK again. Come on. Okay. And then we have, oops, oh no. Okay. I thought I just did that, but I apparently did it wrong. Select data, excuse me for making that mistake. I don't know what I just did. Okay, and I'm letting this phone call just continue. And I'm going to have to stop the stupid video again. Okay. And we have that. Okay, now that's enough. And it's enough. Now you can do exactly the same thing if you create your own bubble chart. Now I'm going to go backwards a little bit. So I have, and I really am going to show you this at the end of the video, I have the GDP per capita growth rate. I think since over the last about 11, 12 years. Here's Ghana, 64%, Botswana, 38%, China, a massive amount, DRC, 45%, Cote d'Ivoire, Egypt. And we'd like to know if this is driven by population growth, literacy rates, debt to GDP, business ease. I have all of these in the country database, and about a zillion variables more for a zillion different countries. So this time, we're not in that file. We just press F11 and change the chart type and go to the scatter plot and make it. Okay, and it would be a lot nicer if this was started in 1 or something. So in this case, you can see that the population growth has a negative effect, mainly because of China. So all we do is press Shift Control L, Shift Control L. You must have a label named range. You want to go on, press yes. And this time, I named these, and I'm going to have to, I'm going to cancel. And I'll press OK. And we're going to name these. How about we'll name these ranges. I'm going to name them on the side here. And I already named them. I already named them countries. So good. Whoops. Oh, shoot. I'm pressing Control-Tab to get back to where I was. Okay. So at least we made these. We right-click, and we go to, if we don't right-click, we go we press Shift Control L. I'm going to continue, and I'm going to type countries. Okay. And then it names them all for us. Okay. And we can do all the same kind of things and see that it's China that's affecting this. Now, the way to do all of this is I put a index function. And up here, I think I want to put GDP per capita up on the top, and eventually I could put keep the X range always the same. Okay, so that's one kind of basic element of graphing. And then the next thing I'd like to do is in this one, this was, remember, the X range, this is always the same, and this is an index function, and the index function always needs a code number. This is kind of fundamental. We always need a code number, and then the code number is tied on this one to you go Format Control, and it's always tied to the cell link. And look at this, I made a crime. That was a crime. No named range in here. And let's make sure I do the next one. And so what we're going to do now is use these little things, and then I did another index one for the bubble. Okay, we just put a code number, and that index number is tied to our wonderful little drop-down box that they call a combo box in Excel. So we click back and forth, and we select this. And I think I might have done it incorrectly on the last one. Let me just make sure I have that. So now what we're going to do, I think you hopefully can see, is we're going to put these little things on the graph, and we can even say that it's the bubble. So now we can go to our chart and press our little box here. I think I can't really make it larger. Okay, let's put it perhaps next to our title. And we can see, well, let's see how the growth is affected by the literacy. and it's taking a minute to compute. I'm not turning it off this time for once. I'm going to turn it off in a minute. Okay, and we can do that. And I suppose we could even, make a trend line. But now, let's do the same sort of thing, and let's add a bubble. So we can say, well, here is the literacy. There seems to be a little bit of a positive relationship. And let's put our bubble in here. So all we do is right-click and then add the bubble thing to it. All right. Perhaps I'll kind of move that down here somewhere. We could put a little text box in. All right. And then we right-click and go to, again, select data. Go to edit, and we'll put our, we can't do that right now. We first have to change it to change the chart type to a bubble chart. Excuse me for that. I kind of learn as I'm doing here. And then we go to select data again, and we go to edit, and you can click on the bubble. Okay, so right now we have the population growth as the other variable. Now, if you click on the bubbles, you can also kind of let's reduce them in size. Okay, and now what we can do is change. So now I have literacy and literacy, but let's say I want to compare. How about I'll leave it on literacy for the bubbles. So China's a little bit bigger because it has a higher percentage of literacy, and then we'll put business ease, and I have to stop and now I added, this time I put business ease against youth unemployment and put the size of the bubble as youth unemployment. Okay? So that's making some presentations. We're kind of limited to 3 dimensions. Maybe somebody can figure out kind of how to present more. And the places with a larger youth unemployment have a higher thing. I'm just going to press Shift Control L. I hope the countries are still the same. So, okay, when I changed it, I think they are. Okay. Did Ghana have a high? Just a minute. Okay, I had an error with the index function. I started from the beginning instead of the second one. Okay, so that's it. Now I want to show you one more thing in my little time left, and this is why this thing is taking so long. In this country database, this is where it all comes from. Now, on this country database, I'm going to have to keep pausing the video, but I said, let's go from 1 January of 2001, I guess, to 15. So this is the last 15 years of growth. And you can press an index, or you can press raw data, and then you can get things like the constant GDP, and you can get this for any kind of countries, and then I got the population, and then you can get, the population above 65. You can get the net lending, and then the bank ROE. You can get all of these things. And if you want to start from, 1950s or something, you can go all the way back. And it all comes from this Fred database. So I'm just kind of hacking somebody else's database. But that way you can do all this powerful, I'm not powerful, because this GDP per capita, if there was a magic formula, everybody would use it. There's no magic formula, obviously. There's no obvious single variable. People can debate politically and everything else. What this does, so this constant GDP per capita, now, I guess I went all the way back or something. And we see how it grew from there. Now, if I would so I just copied this data from one single row. I kind of took the last row, and then we can go and let's take business ease, and then I'll stop the video. So if before that, I suppose I should put, let's put the raw data for GDP per capita, and let's go back. If you see it's taking a minute. Okay, so there's Botswana. Did so well, Botswana, compared to some of our other countries in Africa and even Egypt. And there's China, which started below everybody and went higher. It's still tiny, really, the GDP per capita. And now let's go down to something like, we can look at the population. Why don't we look at the population? And for the population, I think instead of, it will be silly, China will be so much bigger you won't see anybody else. So I've got to pause for. So there's the growth rate since 1960. You can see how China's leveled off. So it was kind of cheating. We know China's kind of leveled off and they got a higher GDP per capita. That doesn't really mean that's the reason for it, obviously, but perhaps some of the other countries with a really high this is Cote d'Ivoire had the highest one. This is an enormous increase. And of course, when we do our regression, we go back to the same kind of starting point. Okay, and you can do that. And then, now, after we do that, let's go, instead of putting population, let's just put something like the business ease. Again, this comes from the Fred database. Now, if you want to find out what it really means, okay, first I'm going to delay it for a minute. Now, when you do this, nothing comes up, but if you press the bar, it's because it's just got one line, just a minute, but we want to do it not as an index, we want to put it as the raw data, okay? Okay, sorry about the delay there, but if you press bar and if you've just got one value, I think the lower the business ease, the better. The high business ease is pretty high for countries like Chad and here Burkina Faso and Botswana, and low for Botswana and low for China, and that seemed to have a strong correlation with the GDP per capita. And that's it. The only other thing that perhaps to show you, if you want to see, where this data comes from, we have to go and let's find businesses. Let's see, this is a table of contents. This is bank concentration. So you can see all the variables. I just went and collected a whole bunch of variables. That was the only painful part of this. And once you have these things kind of done, it does that. And then if you press, oh shoot, I'm going to have to press the auto open macro for just a minute. And it says Shift Control F. When you do that, it just kind of puts the data, the words back together. Okay, 1 minute again. Okay, it just puts the numbers together. I guess I had a problem with this, but you can see it comes from a World Bank indicator, and it's computed on a annual basis, and one is in first place. A higher number is a lower rank. So you can do this, and then you press Shift Control Z to kind of get back to the original place. So this was, I used this as an excuse to show you a little bit more about this country database that I worked so hard on. And if you, of course, want to update this and put new countries in and new series, you go to the Fred database and you can add the countries. And if you want to update the whole thing, you press Clear Sheets and then read the URLs, and then you've got to give yourself probably an hour or so for it to read everything. whatever, then it's in a really large spreadsheet, and I have a couple of other large spreadsheets open, and that's why this thing took so long. And I'm going to stop the video now.